Hello, my name is Rachel. I go by spootmagoot on the internet. This is my cat Squeakers, who is currently fascinated with my whole microphone setup. And this one might be a little bit difficult, so I've brought my art, my crochet. This one, the pattern is niche crochet or nichit crochet, not sure. And then this one is green frog dolls, so I'll link those below. I am feeling called to speak to you today because I just watched a video by Austin Archer called Due Process and the Present Reality of American Totalitarianism. And it really got me activated in thinking about how we all need to be taking action right now. In whatever ways that we can, we need to be raising our voices in whatever ways we can. What I thought was so powerful about his video was his use of his experience with substance abuse to speak about the present moment in a way that only he could. And that really made me realize why it is that every single one of us needs to be speaking out and using our power, is that there is a particular way that you say things and you do things that no one else does. And the purpose of the video here today is to mobilize you and to activate you. Now is the time. Now is the time to mobilize and activate for good in this world in ways that you never have before. I believe that we are currently in the beginning stages of World War III. I think it is very clear when you look at the military movements around the world, the encroaching totalitarianism, and the increasingly new alliances that are being formed that sort of mirror like a new allied and axis powers, that we are at the start of a new World War III. And furthermore, America is not on the good side. And if you have a problem with that, you need to do something right now. Because we, as the people of America, do not have access to planes and tanks and bombs and guns like the government does. And so the only power that the people have is mass mobilization. The sheer overwhelming number of people turning out, speaking out, and using their voice and their work and daily activities in order to produce desired change. Now, the news is very clear right now. We are in the constitutional crisis that we have been waiting for. We are in the show-off moment. Will the courts actually hold Trump and his administration in contempt of the court? Will Congress stand up and take back their power from this authoritarian wannabe dictator? And in order to make sure that that happens, and to be really the first generation to start the authoritarian backslide and stop it, what we need to do is to activate and mobilize like we never have before. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts this morning, and I posted a lot of them with commentary on my Blue Sky. That's at spootmagoot on Blue Sky. And another thing that I found that was so compelling was the interview by Sarah McBride with Pod Save America, in which she talks about how we need to start building alliances like we've never built before. They're not going to look like how alliances used to look in the past. We can't demand this like moral purity of our alliances. We can ask for better. We can educate. But we might have to do some strange things like team up with old people who only care about the fact that their Social Security is being dismantled and have no opinion or even an oppositional opinion to supporting, the plight of the Gazans in Palestine. So we need to do a radically new form of organizing And I would say not working across the aisle, but working together in common shared interests against the authoritarian backslide that is currently taking our nation. I want to advocate, first of all, for you to recognize that this is a very scary and profoundly terrifying moment. It will require the best of all of us. And I'm very sorry to the millennials and the Gen Z folks who have lived their entire lives, as I have, living in unprecedented times, constantly moving crisis to crisis, new 9/11 to new 9/11, let's say. But I also believe that upbringing has prepared us for this moment. Nothing in our entire lives has been normal. And so we have this capacity that prior generations do not have in order to imagine something new, something better, and to work towards making it happen. We can advocate for this vision in our creative works, in our professional works, and just as we talk to each other and go about our day. So I want to recognize how difficult this moment is, and also tell you that you cannot be stalled by that. You were chosen to be here at this moment. I believe that. I think there is something really profoundly moving going on here that we won't realize until it's done. Next, I want to talk to you about what I mean by mobilize. So, the traditional image of an activist who is out in the streets, who has a sign, who is protesting, who works with traditional nonprofits or NGOs, I think that era is kind of over. There's a lot of works in the movement, even over the last 10 years, saying that, the end of protest is here. What I will say is that there is still a need for mass mobilization, huge widespread protests like what we saw on April 5th and April 19th. But we need more than that. This is going to take way more than that. But that also empowers every single one of us. So I am a disabled person who can no longer work full-time in a traditional workplace setting. And that has been a profoundly transformative experience in my life that has shown me new ways of being and doing, that showed me how utterly enslaved we are to our jobs and how enslaved we are to things, commodities, purchases, and the next new thing. The fact that luxuries like a MacBook have become like almost necessities in our society is an artificial creation by capitalist corporations who are trying to solidify their international dominance over colonized peoples. And it really took me not being able to work, not being able to earn a living wage for a very long time that helped me to see that. And now it's actually made me very staunchly in favor of the repair, reuse, recycle movements. I highly advocate buying used. Go to your libraries. There are plenty of tools and technologies that you can access for free, and you should do so. And it is your right to do so. What I will say is that in order to resist this huge hegemonic monster of capitalism, authoritarian dictators, and just evil that is taking over our world and has been ruling our world for really hundreds, if not thousands of years. In order to finally usurp that evil, we are all going to need to stand up and say, enough. Enough. We have risen. I believe that we have risen above simple predator and prey dynamics. I believe that we have risen above this need or desire to compete, to create artificial scarcity, and to harm other people. I believe that we need to work together to form cooperative social groups that work towards saving our planet from climate change and looking forward to a future in which we can engage in things like space colonization in a indigenous, sustainable, and respectful, non-destructive, but in fact life-generating way that has never been seen before. We are the very first generation of people who has had access to the internet, has had access to the communication and intelligence and just day-to-day lives of other human beings across the planet. This should connect us in new ways that we have never experienced ever before. So why are we so divided? Why are we more divided and polarized on 50-50 percentile bases than we have ever seen before? And that is because we are being manipulated by algorithms and by these rulers in power in order to maintain their power. So, all this being said, I am calling on you, the viewer of this video, to mobilize for change. And I have mobilized in the last week in increasingly creative ways. And I hope some of my ideas can inspire you to find creative ways to mobilize. So one of the days, I was feeling really low energy. I have chronic fatigue, and I find it really hard sometimes to go to a traditional protest where you need to march or stand in one place for a very long time. And so what I did was I found a friend who was willing to join me. I would have gone if the friend was unavailable. And I went out to the road by my house, sat in a lawn chair with my big whiteboard that I have above my desk, and wrote 5calls.org, a little divider line, and fuck Trump underneath it. And my friend sat beside me and blew bubbles with a little bubble wand in the air. And let me tell you, it was terrifying at first to be viewed in that way by so many people. It feels like a very vulnerable thing to be seen and to be heard at first. And the longer I sat there, I was very surprised by how I sort of had this moment of like relax. And I kind of thought about it in a way like my alter ego Spootmagoot was showing up to this protest and was like ready to stick it to the man. That helped for a moment. And then the longer I sat there, I realized that Spootmagoot is me, and that I am powerful and creative and have something important to say, and that the people in these cars driving by me do need to hear it, and they will need to reckon with me in whatever future happenings occur. I want you to have the audacity, the boldness of Spootmagoot blowing bubbles on the side of a highway. Okay? A second idea. I woke up this morning and had this thought that I was no longer going to be ruled by fear of what my family thought of me, and was going to start truly living as myself and being bold and audacious and speaking my truth. And a couple minutes later, my mom texted me and she said, the crystal sun catcher that you got me, that's been up on the window for years, just out of nowhere, flew off the wall. And I was shocked, and I took that as a sign that I have a lot of power that I am not even aware of, that there are forces at work here that we can't even see and comprehend. I choose to trust in that and to move with that and through that. And I hope you can feel empowered to do the same. And find those sources of power that may not be visible, that may not be, you know, logically drawn as lines on a map. I want you to get into your little bit of a Delulu phase, like, because I think that's what it's going to take. We're going to have to be a little bit Delulu to face off against an authoritarian dictator with the power of the United States military. Sorry, I think that's what it's going to take. And a final point. I also listened to a video by The Financial Diet, in which the creator of The Financial Diet was advertising her new romance book about enemies to lovers, and they're on a yacht. And she said something really powerful in that you still have a life and you still get to have fun, even when you are doing your life's work, even when you are doing hard work, like fighting an authoritarian fascist takeover. Like, those little moments of fun and play are what keeps you sane. And so if you need to crochet a clown possum or a monarch butterfly fairy, go do that. And break it down into little bits day by day, so that you have little pieces of pleasure at the start and end of every day. Free yourself from the thinking that you have to be one thing, that you have to be just your job, just your employment. You are just one single facet of a human being. You are multifaceted. You are a prism. You are an eldritch being that is beyond mortal comprehension. I'm gonna need you to start living like it. Okay, so take off your human skin, fully disrobe and become your lizard, monster, Cthulhu-esque eldritch being, and call to the masses that it is time to rise up. And that courage, that breakthrough will inspire others to do the same. Just as Austin Archer inspired me today, I am inspiring you today, and I want you to move that forward. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you have a great rest of your day fighting fascism and creating little sparks of joy. Thank you.